welcome back to my channel. My name is Gina, and today is a late double wrap up. I realized that I never recorded a weekly wrap up last week. Still getting used to this whole schedule thing, so I apologize. But honestly, it's not the end of the world because these past 2 weeks have been kind of slow reading weeks for me, mainly due to my resubscription to World of Warcraft. But it's okay. It'll all be okay. Just gotta figure out my new balance. So I've only read 7 books in the past 2 weeks, which is not a lot for me at all. So last week, and I read more last week. I don't know what I was doing this week. I have no idea. I think I was just reading a couple of really long books, and they were just, for some reason, taking me forever. But anyway, last week I continued on with the Bridgerton series. Read book 4, which is, I forgot what it's called. Romancing Mr. Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. And this was Penelope and Colin's story, and it was fantastic. So far, I've read the first 5. Not really a spoiler. Yeah, spoiler. And this one was my favorite of the first 5. Full 5 stars. I loved everything about it. And I mean, and the Bridgerton series on Netflix came out this week too, so I've been binging that. And that's mainly based on book 1, but apparently there were some like little Easter egg slight spoilery things all the way through book 5. So it's good. Oh my god, it's so good. Love it so much. Love it. I cannot wait for the next one, for the next season. No, I have to wait forever. But, so I don't want to really give much away, but if you don't know the Bridgertons, the series I've been reading, it's historical romance, the Regency period. There is a family, a single mom, with 8 children, and now she's trying to get them all married off. And so their names are alphabetical order. You have Anthony, Benedict, Colin, Daphne, Eloise, Francesca, Gregory, and Hyacinth. But I've had Daphne's book so far, Anthony, Benedict, this was Colin's book, and his relationship with his sister's best friend Penelope, who he's known for a very long time, and you know, it's kind of like friends to lovers almost, basically. They're not like super close friends, but they're definitely friends. Like, I'm sure for a long time he thought of her as like his little sister. So fantastic, loved it so much. The next book, book 5 in the Bridgerton series, is To Sir Philip with Love, and this one is Eloise's story. and Eloise thought her and Penelope were going to be spinsters, and she was perfectly happy with that until Penelope, you know, got together with her brother. And now she doesn't want to be alone, I guess. And she's writing letters to, she's been corresponding with apparently her cousin's husband, widow, I guess, because her cousin died, and so she was like giving her condolences, and then they started a lengthy correspondence of chit chat basically, and then he decides he needs a mother for his two kids and thinks, you know, Eloise, spinster lady, might fit the bill. And so it's definitely really enjoyed it. The next book I read, Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. And I read this. This was the group book for the Bias Breaker readathon, which I'm not sure if I actually ended up completing. Oh well. This book was, how do I put this book? Weird. Weird as fuck. This was a 3-star read for me. I don't write reviews for books. I'm not a writer. I'd love to be a writer, but I'm just not. I don't know the words to say. I don't know how to talk about books in any semblance other than my feelings, I guess. But I want to look at, what did I write? What is my... Okay. No. Because it's been a while, so I'm just going to read you my review. I finished this book and sat in stunned silence with occasional twitters of laughter as I struggled to figure out how I felt about Earthlings. I honestly still don't know, and still don't know. Maybe this review will change, but I don't know. I don't think it will. The tone of the narration took away from any horror I might have been supposed to feel. Yes, okay, because it was written very... juvenile, and that was fine for the first half of the book, or the first part of the book, where they're actually children. The characters are children. But then when they grew up, and maybe it was supposed to be this way, it might have been because the one of you talks when they meet up again later. Oh, I guess I should say what this book is about. In case you didn't watch my TBR. Okay, this book is about Natsuki and her cousin Yu, and Natsuki is an odd duck. She's an odd duck, alright? She lives in this whole, like, fantasy world. She has a wand and a transformation mirror, and for a while she thought she might be a witch, or had a stuffed animal who was an alien that she talked to, and then after a couple of summers with you, who said he was an alien because that's how his escape mechanism or whatever, she decided that maybe she was also an alien, or maybe just wanted to go with him when his planet picked him up. And so they spent their summers together at their grandparents', like the whole family goes up there. They get separated and they grow up and end up coming back together in a very odd way. They made a vow to or they made a promise to survive no matter what, and they take that to the extreme in a very weird way. Um, so, um, and so I guess as I grew up, it was still, the writing or the narration was still very juvenile, but I guess this was to signify that she was still living in this world, um, as a coping mechanism from trauma and whatnot, and so she didn't ever, didn't necessarily grow up per se, um, but it was just so weird for me, and maybe it's part of the fact that it's a translated work, maybe, I'm not sure. But I spent most of the book commenting, like, every other page was like, what the hell am I reading? Like, why am I still reading this book? I don't know. I don't understand how I made it all the way to the end, because it was just, I guess it was that odd. It was so odd that I needed to know, like, how? Like, what? Why? I needed these answers, these questions answered. Um, I did not see the ending coming. Not even the slightest. It went from weird as fuck to bizarro land horror movie. Like, it would probably maybe be really great visually as a horror movie. Um, but it didn't come across well in the book for me, and that could be because I have aphantasia. I can't visualize things. I don't read books and see them in my head. So it really just made me go, what the fuck? And I don't know if this book was just too weird for me, or maybe weird is just not my genre. I'm sure a lot of people out there might be huge fans of this book. I just, I couldn't. Um, there, yeah, I, so many trigger warnings, FYI, so many. I don't even know if I can give them all without giving it away, but yeah, so that's enough of that. The next book I read, The Summer Book by Tove Jansson. This one, I was like, super short read, less under 200 pages. I can totally get through this super quick. I don't think I fully understood what I was getting into. I was under the impression that it was a book, well, it is, but a book about a grandma and her 6-year-old granddaughter, and they spend the summer together. Yeah, like the freaking synopsis: an elderly artist and her 6-year-old granddaughter, while away a summer together on a tiny island in the Gulf of Finland. Gradually, the two learn to adjust to each other's fears, whims, and yearnings for independence, and a fierce yet understated love emerges. I DNF'd this book. Be real here. It was not. I can't. It's not horrible. It's just not for me. Not for me at all. And I feel like the blurb on the back of the book was different than the blurb on Goodreads. And I've realized that if I ever see the words, and it wasn't in here, so I wouldn't have known until I got the book, vignettes, collection of vignettes, it might not be for me. So there was no actual overarching plot throughout this book. Like, there was no build up to something, and then, the conclusion. It was literally, here are these people on this island, and we're just going to give you little snapshots of their summer. And mainly, a lot of it was from the 6-year-old's point of view, too. So it was just very, like, I like there were some parts where they would talk about her dreams, and then they would just go into the next like vignette or whatever, and I was just like, it's just not for me. I need an actual story. I need plot. I need it to be going somewhere. I need to want to know how it ends. And I'm just like, they spend the summer together. Fabulous. I don't care. I'm harsh, being very harsh. But yeah, it was not for me. I DNF'd it. So I did not give it a rating because, yeah, I just couldn't finish it. The next book I read was the second book in the Psy Changeling series, Visions of Heat by Nalini Singh. Like another new favorite romance author. I've got my Christine Feehan, I've got my Nora Roberts, Nalini Singh. I am going to make my way through every single book that this woman has ever written because it's my jam. It's so good. Visions of Heat. So the Psy Changelings, there's a couple of different races. There's the changelings, like shifters, all different subspecies. So like there's leopards and wolves, and I don't even remember what else. I feel like there was more, and I just can't remember all the different animals. The humans, and I thought there was a third one. I can't think of what it is. Another one beside the Psy. But the Psy have a lot of mental powers. So telekinesis, you've got seers, like not fortune tellers, but I can't think of the word they used. It was F class. I can't think of the F word that they used to describe these people. Telepathy, all sorts of those types of things. Empaths. But this is about one of the changelings, and one of the Psy who can see visions, and she's been trained her whole life to use her power, her ability for business. So she looks through lists and lists of companies and different things and can see where the trends are going to go, what people should do to make money, for these businesses to do to make loads and loads of money. And she has been kind of lied to her whole life and kept basically isolated, with the understanding that touch could lead to her going mad and seizures and death. But she's got some feelings that she's not supposed to have because the Psy don't have feelings. They have created a conditioning system from the time that starts from the time you were born to basically get rid of your emotions. They're there, they just, I feel like, lock them down and don't acknowledge them or access them or something. But it was fantastic. Once again, there is a murder and they need to find the killer before he finds her. And the next book I read was the sequel to The Last Magician, The Devil's Thief by Lisa Maxwell. This is one of those long ones, 704 pages, and I felt it. I did really enjoy it. I want to say the beginning maybe was a struggle for me. I was also reading it on my phone on a Scribd, which is also a little tougher than reading a physical book for me. But I did give it a 4-star. I really enjoyed it. The Last Magician is about, what's her name again? Esta? No, that sounds weird. I don't remember her name. I told you, my memory is shite. That's what we're getting here. I mean, I guess I could look it up. I was right. Okay, my memory's not shite. I just second guessed myself. Esta. So in this world there is magic, but in modern day New York, magic is all but extinct. The remaining few who have an affinity for magic live in the shadows, hiding, and Manhattan has a barrier around it, a magical barrier, a dark energy. So any magious, magical person who enters Manhattan becomes trapped in Manhattan by this called the Brink. And if you try to leave, you lose your power and sometimes your life. But Esta is a thief who travels through time, and she has been raised by this professor to steal magical artifacts from the Order who created the Brink, the barrier. And she goes back for one final job to steal a book before it can be destroyed. But old New York is filled with gangsters and secret societies, and the air is just, it's magic everywhere. And Esta has to make some hard choices that maybe the professor is not 100% truthful or correct, and she might have to betray everyone in the past to save her future, or betray her future to save the past or something. But so book 2 continues this story, and I can't really say more without spoiling book 1. But I did enjoy it. I will continue on with the series. I think there for sure is one book out and one more book coming. Hopefully they're not as long as the first 2, but they might be. It's probably. The last and final book that I read, which literally took me forever, The Starry Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and it's weirdly, it was only less than 500 pages. I did end up giving it a 4-star. The second half really picked up, and I kind of like flew through it. And I also made myself a goal of like reading 50 pages per day. But then I was like, I just binge read the last 80 or something, or 150. I started reading this on the 13th of December, when I was supposed to start it, because I was supposed to read it last week, and didn't finish it until 2 days ago, until the 27th. So it took me 2 weeks. 14 days. 14 days to finish this book. This book is very, how do I describe it? Atmospheric, I guess. So, like, you have the current story that's happening involving these characters, Zachary, Mirabelle, what's his name? It's sort of the D. Dorian. So the story about them and the Keeper is broken up with passages from these 3 different books that are basically either describing the Starless Sea and this whole society of books and this underground library, as well as stories that seem like stories but end up being like connected. It gets all interconnected. Like it was stories within stories and stories about these people's like past lives and just about Mirabelle's parents and very just back and forth, convoluted. Not really convoluted, but I have a hard time sometimes reading books that are just very descriptive because I don't visualize things. And so I have to sometimes like read things a couple of times and I have a tendency to like skim descriptive stuff. And so I kind of have to read things over again and like focus. So it was just a little bit of a struggle until the main story between Mirabelle, Zachary, and Dorian took off more and got a little bit more exciting, and then I was able to like just keep it going. But so Zachary he's in college, and he's in school for like games or whatever, gaming. But he's been searching for his door but doesn't really know it. And he's following these clues that his brain is picking up on. And it's a very fantastical story. It was really great. I know a lot of people really enjoy it, and I did, like especially the second half, and just knowing, it just how like, all the stories are important, and so getting to the end and seeing how they all, throughout the book, how they all combine, helped. It struggled for a minute. It's by Erin Morgenstern, who's also the author of The Night Circus. And so I knew, I should have known, because I kind of felt the same way about The Night Circus. It was very descriptive, but still very good, and I really enjoyed it. So that is it. Those are the 7 books I read, and this took me way too long to talk about them all, because I babble, and I'm sorry. Let me know if you've read any of these, and what you thought about them, and I will see you next time, and hopefully my next wrap-up will be on time. But yes, like, comment, subscribe if you'd like to see more. I'd love to have you. Thanks.